In this movie, I want to continue building my custom configured door, and I'm going to focus on the door panel. So the file I have open on screen here is called door panel, and I'm looking at the 3D view at the moment, and you can see that we have this nice arch-topped opening here. And I'm going to go to the floor plan and just remind you that I also have this reference line that's being controlled with a parametric door swing right here, the details of which were covered back in Chapter 2. There's also a width parameter currently associated with that reference line. What I want to do is build my custom door panel on the work planes of that reference line and use the profile that we built at the start of this chapter. So that means it's going to be a sweep again. So I'm going to go to the Create panel. And the first thing I want to do is set my work plane. So I'm going to come over here to Work Plane and click the Set button. And in the dialog that appears, I'll choose Pick a Plane, click OK. And I just want to click anywhere on the reference line. So I'm going to make the work plane the horizontal work plane that's parallel to the ground there. So it's running at that 45-degree angle at the moment. Now I'm going to go to Sweep and sketch my path. And I'll zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to start right at the midpoint of this reference line and just draw it out perpendicular. It's going to be a 45-degree angle, just a little bit. Cancel out of there. I want to make sure that this thing stays put. So there's a few things I want to do here. I'm going to add a dimension from the sketch line that I just created, and then highlight the endpoint of the reference line and the other endpoint of the reference line. Now, of course, it'll currently say that those are equal, 1.5 and 1.5. The goal of the dimension is to keep them equal. So I'm going to toggle on the equality here to make sure that however this door flexes, it will always keep the path of the sweep centered. So that's what the equal will do for me. And then I'm going to go to the Align command, align to the reference line and the back endpoint right here, and I'll lock that. Now, as far as the other endpoint, there's nothing out here to lock to. Well, I'll just select the sketch line, toggle on the Make This Temporary Dimension Permanent right there. That gives me a dimension for that sketch line. And then I'll come up here and label that with the thickness parameter. Now, it's currently on my screen 208 because I eyeballed it. When I apply thickness to it, it's going to actually flex that 208 parameter. So you notice how it says thickness, but it kept it 208. So now to test this out, if I go to Family Types and click in the thickness field and maybe try 0.1 and click Apply, you're going to see it get shorter but stay attached to the reference line. And that's because we locked that first endpoint. Let me try 0.2, and it will come back again. And I'm going to leave it 0.2 because I like to have nice whole numbers. So that gives us our path. So that takes care of that. Let me click Finish. The next thing I'm going to do is switch to 3D. And if you zoom in, there's your path kind of sitting there on the floor. Now I'm still in the sweep. I want to click the Select Profile button. And then from the dropdown, choose my 3-center arch profile. And notice that it already matches the shape of the opening. And that's because in the previous movie, we went down here on Project Browser and right-clicked the properties of that profile. And we linked up the two parameters to be driven by the width and the height of the door family. So the door family is driving the shape of this overall profile. So that's all we need to do. I click Finish, and I now have a 3D door slab that matches the shape of the opening. But don't take my word for it. Let's flex. So I'm going to go to Family Types, move it so I can see, and let's take the width of this door, and I'm going to go 2 units wide. Get a really narrow one. Let's take it and increase it to 4 units wide, and it gets really wide. Drop it down to 5 units tall. And let's put everything back to 3 by 7. So that's the value of using the same profile to control both the opening and the panel. So now I have just 2 parameters, height and width, that are driving the shape of the entire door. Its opening, its panel, everything else. In the next movie, we'll begin adding some moldings to finish out this door and make it a little bit more appealing.